Welcome. Tonight, Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) to publish preliminary voters' register across the country between November 12 and 25 to allow citizens file in their claims and objections. President Muhammadu Buhari reaffirms Nigeria's commitment to stabilizing the country's democratic system as the 2023 general elections draw closer. National Orientation Agency warns that Anambra, Delta, Cross River, Rivers and Bayelsa states are still at high risk of flooding till November. On business news tonight, Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited signs MOU with South Korean company Daewoo Group for fixing of Chidinma refinery.
And on sports news tonight, Nigeria's power lifter Roland Izurike wins the country's first gold medal of the opening day of the African Open Championship in Cairo, Egypt.
And from Abuja, the nation's capital, EFCC Chairman Abdulrasheed Bawa welcomes redesigning of Naira notes, describes CBN's move as a well-considered and timely response to the challenges of currency management.
And in international news from London, protests continue across Iran, a day after tens of thousands turned out to mark 40 days since the death of Mahsa Amini.
We begin with electoral matters. Registered voters will have a chance to file in their claims and objections on the voters' register between November 12 and 25, and that's according to INEC Chairman Professor Mahmood Yakubu. The INEC boss gave the indication when he met with members of the media and civil society groups in Abuja as part of the engagement ahead of the 2023 general elections. According to him, a hard copy of the register will be displayed in every registration zone in the country's 774 local government areas.
The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) and national commissioners of the electoral body meet with heads of media organizations and leaders of civil society organizations in Abuja. The conference is one of those consultative meetings to keep the public abreast of preparations for the 2023 general elections.
Leaders of civil society.
The INEC chairman gives an update on the cleanup of the voters' register, noting that over 2.7 million people who earlier registered were weeded out for failing to meet the requirement. According to him, the cleanup exercise left 93,522,272 eligible voters in the preliminary register that will be published in November.
The display of the fiscal register will take place at the designated centers, that is at the wards and local governments, from Saturday 12th to Friday 25th November 2022. I would like to appeal to all Nigerians to seize the opportunity of the display to scrutinize the list and help us to clean it further so that the final register of voters for the 2023 general election can be compiled and published.
The electoral umpire also reiterated stance on the use of the bimodal voter accreditation system (BVAS) in the forthcoming general elections.
Voters will be accredited by means of the bimodal voter accreditation system. There will be no incident form. Results will be transmitted to the INEC result viewing portal in real time on election day.
However, some members of the civil society organizations are asking INEC to scale up voter education ahead of the polls.
We've also noted as civil society organizations the need to continue to work together on efforts at enhancing voter education, sensitization and dissemination of information around the elections. Most importantly, on the procedures for the elections and in particular the collection of the permanent voters card, which will start soon.
There is a new technology we are going to use this year, and that's the first time we are going to use it, and the director of ICT has been replaced. So we want to know why this is happening. It may be for good, but we need to know.
The 2023 general elections are only 4 months away, a time frame that many citizens want the electoral umpire to use to tighten any loose ends before the commencement of voting in February next year.
To party politics now, where the permutations continue ahead of the 2023 general elections, with 2 All Progressives Congress APC governors visiting the River State Governor Nyesom Wike in Port Harcourt, the state capital, on Wednesday. The APC governors, Mr. David Mahi of Ebonyi State, his Cross River State counterpart, Professor Ben Ayade, were accompanied to the meeting by one of the allies of Mr. Wike, Governor Kezie Ikpeazu of Abia State. Governors Wike and Ikpeazu, alongside 3 other PDP governors of Oyo, Enugu and Benue states, have been locked in a dispute with the leadership of the People's Democratic Party, demanding the removal of PDP National Chairman Mr. Yocha Ayu. Both governors, Wike and Otom, have publicly announced that they would not campaign for the party's presidential candidate because he failed to consult them in selecting members of his campaign team from their states. However, the details of Wednesday's meeting were not made known as journalists were asked to leave the venue. Outside our shores, President Muhammadu Buhari has reaffirmed Nigeria's commitment to stabilizing the nation's democratic system. The president stated this during his meeting with the Speaker of the National Assembly of the Republic of Korea, Mr. Kim Jun-pyo, on the sidelines of the World Bio Summit 2022 taking place in Seoul. A statement by the presidential spokesman, Mr. Femi Adesina, explains that the successes achieved in the off-season elections in Anambra, Ekiti and Osun states confirmed that Nigerians have accepted the democratic form of government. The statement reads in part, "We are proud that our patriotic people are given the right to choose who will govern and represent them in the various legislative houses at state and federal levels." President Buhari praised the introduction of technology in the conduct of the polls, which he noted made it possible for him to emerge victorious at his 4th attempt in the presidential contest. Back home, the National Orientation Agency, NOA, is warning that at least 5 states are still at risk of flooding between now and the end of November 2022. Addressing a news conference in Abuja, the Director General of the agency, Dr. Garba Abari, states that over 2.5 million people have been affected by the flood crisis, with over 600 deaths and about 1.3 million people displaced. According to him, the states at risk are Anambra, Delta, Cross River, Rivers, and Bayelsa.
This situation calls for the urgent intervention by all and the sundry. It is by no means a burden that government alone can bear. The existential challenge of the current flooding in parts of Nigeria is one of such national trying moments that call for every one of us to summon the humanity and the brotherly compassion that Nigerians are known for. We must rise up to answer the clarion call of being our brothers' keepers in this time of need. It is a time when those who can help must reach out a hand to those, must extend a hand to those who need help. Our mandate requires the agency to encourage people to actively and freely participate in discussions and the decisions on matters affecting the general welfare of all Nigerians and indeed our dear country.
Meanwhile, the National Emergency Management Agency has commenced the airlift of relief materials to Rivers and Bayelsa states affected by the ongoing flood disaster. The operations, which kicked off from the Edo NEMA office in Benin City, will transport non-food aid. NEMA is collaborating with the Air Force because major roads in the affected states are inaccessible.
The reason why we are airlifting is because there is no access road down to these states, and hence the need for us to collaborate with Nigerian Air Force to lift this relief material. We are starting today with the lifting of non-food items, and tomorrow we will continue with the food items.
An Air Force plane waiting on the tarmac of the Benin airport to airlift relief materials to Rivers and Bayelsa states for distribution to those affected by the flood disaster. Operations from the Edo State Office of NEMA commenced on Tuesday to lift non-food relief materials with support from the Air Force, as roads in the affected states are inaccessible. An aerial view of communities affected by flooding shows the extent of the damage and the amount of work that needs to be done. On the ground, it's a beehive of activities at the Port Harcourt International Airport. First to land are helicopters. Then comes the heavy-duty C-130 cargo plane, bringing in NEMA's much-needed supplies from Benin City, the Edo State capital. These are immediately transferred to other transport aircraft, and the fully loaded choppers take off for Igbogene Bayelsa on one of multiple daily flights between both states.
So far, we have lifted over 3,000 bags of rice. We are currently lifting about 1,200 bags of beans and other relief supplies. Overall, the effort of the Nigerian Air Force is part of the immediately aid to civil authorities in times of crisis like this that the Nigerian Air Force is mandated to undertake as part of their constitutional duties.
At the Igbogene airstrip, the materials are formally handed over to the Bayelsa State Emergency Management Agency before they are offloaded. Then the team proceeds to the Oxbow Lake IDP camp for inspection.
We are very, very grateful to NEMA for this good gesture. Though these things are coming quite late, we've been suffering for some time. You are all aware of the Bayelsa situation. Secondly, we are grateful to the Nigerian Air Force, the Chief of Air Staff. I can recall 2018 flood. The Air Force came with a great medical team here, right in Igbogene here, helped and cured several of our persons who were affected by the flood. Once more, we are grateful to the Nigerian Air Force for this goodwill of humanitarian gesture.
The stark reality of the situation is explained by the camp controller, who paints a grim picture of the condition she and other internally displaced persons face.
NEMA should help us because there is post-flood crisis. This is just the flood season. After the flood, people will move back to their various homes. We need things that we can use to fumigate places, our various homes. Any efforts will go a very long way.
The miracle governor, he has tried with all the agency in charge coordinating this place. They have given us a very good food and medical treatment. They are taking care of us. They gave us food, they gave us net, and they are helping us so much.
The Nigerian Air Force Base in Yenagua, the capital of Bayelsa State, is also completely taken over by flood. Officers and men have to walk through water to attend to their daily security duties. To boost their morale, the Chief of Air Staff comes visiting with some relief materials for distribution to officers and members of the host community. From house to house, they distribute the relief items to residents.
All what I have to say is thank you to God and the authority that have done this. God will continue to bless the authority and us that is living around you.
Aside gifting the officers with relief materials to cushion the devastating effect of the flood, Air Marshal Oladayo Amo embarked on a tour of the Nigerian Air Force Base in Yenagua.
It's a sorry sight. It's really unfortunate. It's not the making of any human being, but nature. You see, what we always want to find is cause. And of course, we in the military, we take it as if we are in the war front, and we address it as such. The most important thing is to provide succor for the people that are affected.
The Nigerian Air Force says the airlift operations will continue in the coming days. And the hope is that this will help ameliorate the sufferings of those displaced by the flood.
In part two, after the break, trial of Chidinma continues today, and as police investigator narrates how she transferred 5 million naira from the late Usifo Ataga's account just hours after his death. That's in a moment. Do stay with us. Welcome back. If this is joining us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television. Here's a reminder of our top stories. Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) to publish preliminary voters register across the country between November 12 and 25 to allow citizens file in their claims and objections. President Muhammadu Buhari reaffirms Nigeria's commitment to stabilizing the country's democratic system as the 2023 general elections draw closer. National Orientation Agency warns that Anambra Delta, Cross River, Rivers and Bayelsa states are still at high risk of flooding till November. And Russian President Vladimir Putin says the world faces the most dangerous decade since the end of World War II. To security now, we're following the travel advisory issued by the United States and the United Kingdom to their nationals in the Federal Capital Territory. The Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, says the Nigeria Police Force will work with other security agencies to ensure the safety of all residents within the country. A statement by the spokesperson of the force, Olumuyiwa Adejobi, says the IGP emphasized this while charging all strategic police managers in charge of police commands, tactical formations within the country to beef up security in their respective jurisdictions, especially in the FCT. Mr. Alkali Baba also directed that all emergency numbers across the country be activated to full capacity for a 24-hour, 7 days prompt response with combatant officers and men on standby to respond in case of emergency situations and distress calls. Staying with security, the recent kidnapping incidents along the Nsukka Highway, the governor of Enugu State, Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi, and heads of security agencies now in the state, they've undertaken a joint security visits to locate the hideouts of the kidnappers and other flashpoints in the axis. The Enugu-Nsukka Highway in the last 1 month has been taken over by kidnappers and other criminals who now use the forest as their hideout. One of those kidnapped by the bandits is the former secretary to the state government, Mr. Dan Shere. Addressing journalists after the inspection, the general officer commanding 82 Division, Enugu, Major General Umar Musa, says the security operatives in the state will flush out the hoodlums.
We're here for on-a-spot assessment of some of the incidences we received this morning about kidnapping along the route. So I'm here with His Excellency, Head of Security, the Commissioner of Police and Director SSS is here with me. We have seen the location and we have assessed the deployment and the perpetrators of this crime are purely kidnappers. We assure you that we are going to go deep into the bush to pursue them and ensure that they do not perpetrate more crimes along the road. One thing I want to also talk to members of the press to relate to the public is that please, whenever there are incidences, please get to us, security agencies, rather than going public through social media. Social media are usually unconfirmed incidences, unconfirmed rumors, and it sends wrong notion to the public. We are here with His Excellency. He saw the deployment, and it is usually town is peaceful, but once in a while you have criminals. And I will assure you that these criminals will fish out and they will be dealt with.
Now to legal matters. A Lagos High Court sitting in the Tafawa Balewa Square of Lagos Island has heard how Chidinma, the key suspect in the murder of Ajaokuta, late Super TV CEO, transferred about 5 million naira from his account hours after his death. The details came to light during the testimony of the 9th prosecution witness, DSP Olusegun Bamidele. At the proceedings today, the Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions, Mrs. Adenike Oluwafemi, told the court that the matter was for continuation of trial. The witness said that during the course of investigation and in a bid to know what could have motivated the first defendant to kill the deceased, the police wrote to Access Bank asking for the bank statements of the deceased, and a copy was given to them. According to him, a closer look at the bank statements combined with information obtained from the phones of the deceased showed that Chidinma had been in control of the account since Mr. Taga's death. The body of the late Usifo Ataga was discovered June 16, hours after he was believed to have been murdered. Let's now head to Abuja studios for more stories. Gloria Mezake, good to see you.
Hello, Millicent. Well, here in Abuja, Chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Abdulrasheed Bawa, is applauding the redesigning of the Naira notes. We're speaking to journalists at the National Assembly after a closed-door budget defense session. The EFCC chairman questions how the monetary policy can be effective when 85% of the currency in circulation is not being controlled by government. He also spoke on the fight against corruption in the country.
It's a good thing that that the country is redesigning its currency now, because how can you control? How can you have an effective monetary policy when you don't have control over 85% of your currency is out there and people are holding it? People are using that, to speculate on the foreign exchange and all of that. So by coming up with this policy, the government is trying to contain that and ensure that those people that are bringing back all these monies, whether legitimately and or illegitimately, and will be able to monitor, and then the right course of the law will, take its course. As at the 22nd of October this year, we have succeeded in securing 2,847 convictions, and over 70% has to do with the issue of cybercrime. The activities of these cyber criminals is tarnishing our image by the day, across the Atlantic. People are trying to see us, as a cybercrime infested country, which I believe we are not. It is based on maybe the high number of population that you tend to see that yes, we are doing one or two things, in that area.
The Minister of Mines and Steel Development, Mr. Olalekan Adigbite, says the federal government will no longer consider the concessioning option for the Ajaokuta Mines and Steel Company. Mr. Adigbite stated this while addressing a news conference in Abuja ahead of the 2022 mining week. He explains that the government is not going to leave the company solely in the hands of investors.
I will not sit down and lie to you that we'll complete Ajaokuta before we leave office. But the process to making sure Ajaokuta has a solid future has started. People have shown interest who wants to run Ajaokuta. What we don't want to do, like the mistakes made in the past, is to give anybody a free ride on Ajaokuta. There's nothing like concession again. Whoever is coming to run Ajaokuta must have a stake in the game. That is going to have some equity. They have to bring money. That's what we are doing now. We have interest, about 8 of them now, 5 foreign, 3 local, who want to run Ajaokuta, and more are coming. I received something from somebody this morning, and he was saying that, whether they should send directly to our partner, that's the transaction advisor, or send to my, I said, it should send to my office. So I think the rule is still open so that we can consider all options. And like I said, our transaction advisor will advise and rank all these proposals. This is what we'll take to the Federal Executive Council, with the President sitting as chair, and then the decision will be taken who will get Ajaokuta. So, but what we can assure everybody, Nigerians and other interested stakeholders, that the process will be transparent and fair, and we'll get the best for Ajaokuta. This will give a solid foundation for Ajaokuta to be built upon.
The The struggle to meet critical forex obligations in the face of operating sustainable airline services in Nigeria can be frustrating, and that's coming from the Chief Operating Officer of Ibom Air, Mr. George Uresi. The Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika, however, says the federal government is committed to ensuring that domestic carriers thrive. Well, both men were among a group of aviation experts who spoke at an aviation forum marking the 30th anniversary of Philips Consulting Limited in Lagos. Our aviation correspondent, Bukola Jo Oketumbi, reports.
Aviation is a catalyst for socio-economic development everywhere and provides the safest form of transportation. Perhaps its critical role is why Philips Consulting Limited is using the occasion of its 30th anniversary to drive a conversation around the future of aviation in Nigeria. One of the guest speakers, who is the Chief Operating Officer of Ibom Air, believes running an airline in Nigeria is an uphill task.
You know, one of the biggest problems we have instead of running an airline is how to get forex. We are obviously disappointed. I am. I don't know about many of you. And frustrated.
For the Minister of Aviation, who joins virtually, he insists that local airlines must do more to take hold of opportunities, while adding that the federal government will continue to support domestic carriers.
So we are more than ready as a body government to support entrepreneurs in civil aviation, to open the door for them, to fight for them abroad, to push them to go and do businesses. I've given them London routes, which is a lucrative. I've given them Dubai. Everywhere they want to go, I've given them.
The same sentiment is shared by another guest speaker, but she adds that airlines in Africa must confidently open up their countries.
Because so long as the airlines and, powers and shakers convince their governments not to open up, Africa will continue to suffer. Africa will not move forward. Africa will not become the giants. The states will not become the giants that you have in the rest of the global space.
While the federal government pledges support to local airlines, the emergence of a new national carrier is a burning issue. The founder of Philips Consulting Limited is afraid the new airline may head into the same storms current operators face.
If you're going to be pulling from the same pool of experts, the same pool of pilots, the same pool of engineers, the support system that is required is going to be operating within the same environment that other airlines are struggling with now. So we really should have pooled our resources.
As the discussions wind down, many ask that all the essential components in the sector, airlines, passengers and service providers, continue to work in harmony to deliver a more secure transport system in the country. Bukola Jo Oketumbi, Channels Television News.
Well, still ahead on the news at 10, Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited signs MOU with South Korean conglomerate Daewoo Group for fixing the 110,000 barrels per day Kaduna refinery. Well, that's in business news. To join us again. 10 in Lagos, the state governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu is reiterating his call for a special status for Lagos, describing the state as a national asset. The governor made the call today while presenting the 2023 budget proposal of 1.692 trillion naira to the Lagos State House of Assembly.
Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu makes his way into the Lagos State House of Assembly to present the proposed budget for the year 2023 to the lawmakers. It's an opportunity for the governor to explain how the 2022 budget was spent before presenting the 2023 appropriation bill.
Mr. Speaker, in water transportation, today we're building terminals in 16 locations. 7 of them are already completed and will be handed over, and the remaining 8 will be completed before the end of our administration. We have also awarded, which is ongoing, the Lekki Regional Road, which is from Freedom Road to the outpost at VGC. We have completed a total of 361 sectional road rehabilitation. We are on the grips of successfully birthing a fully functional light rail system within the Lagos metropolis.
After reading out what has been achieved under his administration, he goes ahead to present a budget estimate for the year 2023.
With a total budget size of 1,692,670,753,894. Keeping with our unique history, legacy, it is for this reason that I've always sought and still continue to reiterate the need for Lagos to be accorded a special status.
Tagged Budget of Continuity, the total proposed budget size stands at 1.692 trillion naira, with a total revenue of 1.342 trillion naira and deficit financing of 350 billion naira. Some of the other components of the budget include capital expenditure at 932.7 billion naira, that's about 55%, recurrent expenditure at 759.9 billion naira, recurrent debt service at 109 billion naira. The Speaker of the State House of Assembly assures of prompt consideration of the proposed budget.
I want to assure Lagosians that members of this honorable House will give a thought to the challenges so far highlighted, as well as other considerations in the process of shaping the proposal to meet the aspiration of the people.
According to the Lagos State Government, the 2023 budget will be mostly about the people, with emphasis on modern infrastructure that will meet the needs of a 21st century city like Lagos.
Time for business news now. Here's Melinda Akilami. Thanks, Millicent. Welcome to Business News. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company, NNPC Limited, has signed a memorandum of understanding with Korean conglomerate Daewoo Group to help in fixing the 110,000 barrels per day Kaduna refinery. According to a statement signed by the Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Mr. Femi Adesina, President Muhammadu Buhari, who witnessed the signing ceremony in Seoul, South Korea, expressed delight over the development. The Federation Accounts Allocation Committee FAAC has shared 760.2 billion naira to the 3 tiers of government for the month of September. From the 502.1 billion naira statutory revenue, the federal government received 294.2 billion naira, states got 233.2 billion naira, local government councils were given 172.7 billion naira, while the oil-producing state received an additional 59.9 billion naira as 13% derivation of mineral revenue. The FAAC adds that Nigeria's excess crude account balance currently stands at $472,513. Nigeria's equities market halted its 3-day bull reign as profit-taking activities in some stocks weighed on overall performance. Ajaokuta has details.
Thank you so much. Welcome to the stock market report. Well, the market mover Airtel did its thing again today. It shed 37 naira 20 kobo to close at 1,275 naira, dragging the market down where the GTCO was in that. But I mean, another strong as Airtel. The result of that is that the bear is back. So the all-share index also followed, so it dipped more than 0.5% at 0.52%, still hanging around 44,652.18, and of course the market cap is still 24 trillion naira. Not looking good. The activity chart is actually not looking good at all, especially for the deals. Can you imagine the deals? Less than 3,000. Not a good trade today. This is not what we were hoping for, but it's what we have. So we will keep our faith and follow the markets again tomorrow. That's a stock market report. I'm Ini John Mekwa.
That's business news. It's back to Millicent. Thanks, Melinda. Still to come on the news at 10, Russian President Vladimir Putin says the world faces the most dangerous decade since the end of World War II. We have that on our international stories and around the world in 5. Please stay with us. And the world faces probably the most dangerous decade since the end of World War II. Russian President Vladimir Putin has warned. He was speaking at the annual Valdai Forum, where he also sought to justify Russia's invasion of Ukraine, a move that has left his country internationally isolated. Simon Pusey has more on this and other international news and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Protests continue across Iran a day after tens of thousands of people turned out to mark 40 days since the death of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini. This was the scene last night in Saqqez, Amini's home city and where she is buried. Shortly after this footage was recorded, it's claimed police began to fire on protesters. Norway-based Iran Human Rights says at least 234 protesters, including 29 children, have been killed by security forces in demonstrations so far. Fresh protests have erupted in the city of Mahabad on Thursday. Mahsa Amini died 41 days ago in police detention after she was held for not wearing her hijab correctly. Meanwhile, CCTV footage of a gunman entering a shrine has been released of the man thought to be responsible for killing 15 people in an attack in the Iranian city of Shiraz. Initial reports said 3 assailants had fired at pilgrims and staff at the entrance of the Shia Muslims' shrine, but this man is thought to be the only suspect involved. Many more are thought to have been injured in the attack on the Shiite Muslim shrine in the Iranian city. The Islamic State militant group said it had carried out the attack. Poland has torn down 4 monuments dedicated to Red Army soldiers who died during World War II, as historically strained relations between Warsaw and Moscow hit new lows. The legacy of World War II is a divisive issue, and the conflict in Ukraine has prompted Poland to step up the demolition of memorials to fallen Soviet troops. Russia argues that it liberated Poland, but most Poles believe that the Soviet Union replaced Nazi occupation with another form of repression. The Kremlin spokesman, Dmitry Peskov, condemned the demolition of the monuments. The Italian Coast Guard say 2 migrants have been found dead, while more than 1,150 have been rescued off Sicily as the new government in Rome threatened to prevent refugee boats from entering Italian waters. Hello! You are safe? The Coast Guard said 663 people and 2 bodies were picked up from a boat around 60 miles off Sicily, and 494 others were rescued from another fishing boat closer to the island. Footage has emerged showing what appears to be rare, large-scale protests against strict COVID-19 measures in the Tibetan regional capital, Lhasa. Multiple photos on social media show hundreds demonstrating and clashing with police. They are said to be mostly ethnic Han Chinese migrant workers. The city has been under lockdown for nearly 3 months as it battles a wave of infections. It's been announced that the Duke of Sussex's memoirs will be published on the 10th of January next year. The book by Prince Harry, which will include his own account of his decision to give up royal duties and move to the United States, will be titled Spare. When the deal for Prince Harry to write his story was announced in 2021, the Prince promised he would reflect the highs and lows and be accurate and wholly truthful. Some of the proceeds from the book will be used to support British charities. Buckingham Palace said it would not comment on the book announcement. And finally, a Paraguayan artist famed for painting intricate and personal soccer boots for stars, including Lionel Messi, is preparing a new colourful show of her work to take to the World Cup in Qatar. Lily Cantero is painting some 24 sets of boots, balls and canvases, many inspired by the Middle Eastern nation and its capital Doha, which will host national teams from around the world next month. Cantero made a name for herself painting soccer boots, including a pair she sent to Argentine star Lionel Messi when he was playing at Barcelona. Her colourful designs have since drawn the attention from other players around the world. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Thank you so much, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. Nigeria's powerlifter Roland Izuruke has won the country's first gold medal at the African Open Championship on day 1 of the powerlifting event in Cairo, Egypt. Izuruke won gold in the men's up to 49 kilogram lifting 172 kilograms, setting a new African and world record. Egypt's Taha Abdelmajid and Cote d'Ivoire's Alidou Diamotene finished in 2nd and 3rd. Izuruke had earlier in the year won Nigeria's first powerlifting gold at the Commonwealth Games. In club football, Liverpool FC manager Jurgen Klopp has been fined £30,000 by the English Football Association following his sending-off during his side's 1-0 win against Manchester City in the English Premier League on October the 16th. Now, Klopp was sent off for confronting Anthony Taylor, the referee, after the referee decided against penalising City's Bernardo Silva for a challenge on Egyptian international Mohamed Salah. Now, the German later apologized for his reaction in his post-match comments. To the UEFA Europa League, Arsenal FC have missed the chance to seal top spot in Group A following a 2-0 defeat at PSV Eindhoven. Well, the battle between the Gunners and PSV for a top spot will now go down to the final group matches next Thursday. Well, the other match in Group A ended 2-1 in favour of FC Zurich over Bodo Glimt. Lazio defeated FC Midtjylland by 2-1 in that encounter. Well, Fenerbahce and Rennes battled to a 3-3 draw in Group B, while Real Betis edged Ludogorets by a 0-0 in Group C. And that's Sports News. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. Back to you, Millicent.
Main things, Ayotunde. And the main news again. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, announced today that Nigerians will be able to check their names on its preliminary voter register across the country between November 12 and 25. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmood Yakubu, who announced this in Abuja today, said this is to allow citizens to file their claims and objections. Also today, President Muhammadu Buhari reaffirmed Nigeria's commitment to stabilizing the country's democratic system. He made the comments during a meeting with the Speaker of the Republic of Korea's National Assembly, Mr. Kim Jin-pyo, on the sidelines of the World Bio Summit 2022. And the National Orientation Agency, NOA, has warned that Anambra, Delta, Cross River, Rivers and Bayelsa states are still at high risk of flooding till November. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. Have a good night and stay safe.